Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video, and today I want to talk about how will the Walking Dead universe end, because it's probably closer than we all think. This franchise has been going on for a decade and a half with zero breaks, and I think at some point relatively soon, not maybe next year or the year after, but within maybe the next 6 years, something like that, this franchise might come to an end. I see it really as a lot of people comparing the Walking Dead universe to Marvel, because everyone does, but we are coming up to Infinity War. That's how I would see the Walking Dead universe currently. We are in that 2016 to 18 era of the MCU, with them capping out all the trilogies of the remaining characters and building up to this big crossover. We know there is a big crossover coming, and Gimple really wants all the current spin-offs, which is The Ones Who Live, Dead City and Daryl Dixon, to all merge into a limited series crossover, or more like a Walking Dead again, where it's just a couple seasons, but it would be short. We know that Gimple really wants to do that, and I think that is where they could end the show. We know that they are planning some of these other spin-offs, like more Tales of the Walking Dead universe to replace Tales, and there's always rumours about spin-offs here and there, but really there is no big random show, there's no sister shows. Everything they're just putting out now seems to be building towards just one story, and the universe just feels like it's starting to close in and start to really focus. Even though the stories do feel very, very different, we know that they're all eventually gonna come together, and I feel like them being like, oh yeah, we're going to have focus just on these 3 shows, or 2 if The Ones Who Live is literally just one series and it's just going to be Daryl Dixon and Dead City for a while. They're really kind of just narrowing down the Walking Dead universe. We're no longer getting all these spin-offs. We've had 7 shows in the first decade and a bit on the Walking Dead universe. I think we're not going to get any more big shows. Like, we might get more Tales of the Walking Dead universe whenever they feel like it. It might just be a one-off thing, and people are talking about this Aaron spin-off, which has gone very quiet, so I think that's definitely not going to happen. So they're definitely going to be putting everything together to have this big show. We know Gimple really wants to do it, and I'm just thinking, what would you do after that? Once you had this big crossover spin-off, and you have then told the story of the CRM, which is what the franchise has been building to since season 7. Gimple claimed season 6, but I don't remember any hints in season 6. But the whole franchise has been building up to this moment, and you've just told that story. How would you go past that? Like, what would you do? AMC would probably try and milk it a little more. But I think the Walking Dead universe as we know it would have to end, because you finished the story, our characters would be in different places, or dead, or just happy now. And the actors, by the time we get to that show, and they've told the rest of the CRM story, and they concluded all these character stories, these actors are all pretty old. Like Andrew Lincoln, he's 50. Norman Reedus is in his early 50s as well, I think. We have actors like Lenny James, he's nearly 60. These actors cannot carry this franchise for another 10 years. So the franchise, as it is now, would have to end relatively soon before it's going to be comical seeing geriatric Daryl Dixon run around with his crossbow in one hand and a walking cane in the other. So the franchise would have to be put to rest, or they would have to suddenly reboot it. They're not really talking about doing any random things. Like Fear is really the only big show which hasn't built to anything. Well, that was the original plan before it ended up becoming a Walking Dead spin-off instead of a sister show. You could say Tales, but we don't talk about Tales. I just really think this universe, as it is now, is gonna start wrapping up. This is probably why we're not getting any big spin-offs or any brand new shows in the Walking Dead universe. Every spin-off has been connected to the story. Gimple's probably like had this big plan. He's like, okay, I want to Marvel this. I want to have everything built up to one thing, and then we'll go tell different stories. We'll have a new origin story. Everyone really wants a story at the start of the apocalypse, so maybe they won't tell that until they finish with the Walking Dead universe and they just press the reset button. We definitely are never going to have, or for the foreseeable future, never going to have Walking Dead in some form. I don't think after we've had these 3 shows end, and the 8th and final show of the Walking Dead universe is what I think would be. The crossover show would be the final show of the Walking Dead universe. And that would just definitely be about everyone reuniting, Team up against Major General Beale. I definitely think that Major General Beale and The Ones Who Live is just going to be set up for this show. They're not going to kill him off in The Ones Who Live. Major General Beale is definitely, maybe Madame Genet, and then all the big villains of the 3 shows kind of build up, or maybe 1 or 2 of them, definitely Beale though, would be in this untitled 8th show, the big crossover show, and it'll just be, he's the villain, defeat him, universe done. That's what I think is going to happen. Like, Rick and everyone's going to come out together, team up against the CRM, and maybe that's where we'll get the Commonwealth again. We know they kept the set around for a bit. I don't know if they still have it, but they can always just rebuild it or just have inside scenes only. And I really see this spin-off really happening in about 2028 maybe, or 2029. I think it would be directly after the current show's end. There will not be a break between them. I don't think Ones Who Live, yeah, it's going to end probably, if it's not this year, next year. We know that Daryl Dixon's going to be at least 3 seasons. I see them maybe pushing for 4 or 5. Lon Cohen wants 5 seasons for Dead City. I doubt it will get that. I think it will get 4. And that will leave us about 2028 or 2029, but definitely before 2030 will be the crossover show. Everyone comes together, because the thing, you have a 70-year-old man playing Major General Beale. You can't wait another half decade or more, or a decade, to tell this crossover spin-off. If you want to use Major General Beale, you're going to have to rush out this show, because you have a very big aging cast. You have all the protagonists being in their mid-50s or late 50s by the time the show comes out. And then you have the villain being nearly 80 probably. So you really have to rush out the conclusion for this show. And then just once that story's done, what's next? And I think they will have to leave it for a bit. I don't think you can really continue after that big crossover show. And that's really when I think the Walking Dead universe will end. The end of this decade, 2028, 2029. At most, 2030. That's where I think this universe is going to end. Because you just can't go past that. And I think they definitely will reboot the Walking Dead universe, and we will get another show years later. But I don't think we'll see that until the mid-2030s. Or maybe near 2040. Maybe they could rush it out, but you got to have maybe 3 years between the end of this universe. But after these 3 shows and that next show, I think every other show that would come out would be in a new universe, would be in a reboot, or they're in the same universe but it won't deal with any of the current characters. It could be a giant time jump forwards. Everyone wants to do a Next Generation show. But I do think the Walking Dead universe is coming to an end. Like, we would maybe see maybe 1 spin-off if it would be Tales of the Walking Dead, or more Tales of the Walking Dead, should I say. Even if it's technically the same show, they're classing it as a new show. That could be a random thing that pops up for randomly in 1 year and never done anything else with. But this is what I think. Please tell me down below. Do you agree with me that the universe is coming to an end, or do you think maybe this is just phase 2, and then after this they will do a phase 3 after they tell the story of Rick, Michonne, Maggie Negan, them lots, and then they're like, oh no, we'll do a phase 3 of completely new set of characters. I'll just know all your thoughts down below. But this is me today. Goodbye, and I'll talk to you guys later.